Now on Denver 7 News at 7 a.m. on Local 3, a Denver park shuts down 2 days after a man was killed trying to stop a fight. The impact he had on his community and how his family is remembering him.
Also, a Colorado man is the first person in the country to test positive for the current strain of bird flu. How he came into contact with the virus in the first place.
Plus, it's the big day for the Broncos as they build a team around Russell Wilson. What to expect on day 2 of the NFL draft. First picks for the Broncos, though.
Yes, and the draft will start to pick up pace here with the time between picks. So the pressure's on.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this Friday morning. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Nicole Brady. Meteorologist Lisa Hidalgo has a look at the forecast. It's going to be a little cooler today than yesterday, Lisa.
It was warm. We hit highs well into the 70s and 80s across the plains yesterday. Yeah, today's going to be about 15 degrees cooler. The winds are also going to start to pick up here by midday. We're going to see wind gusts likely around 40 to near 50 miles per hour. So that combined with the dry, warm conditions. It's not as warm as yesterday, but it's still pretty mild. We do have red flag warning, so high fire danger covers pretty much all of eastern Colorado in effect until 7 o'clock tonight. I'll show you those wind speeds coming up here in just a minute. Things are pretty calm, though, right now. A mostly sunny start to our Friday morning, really very pretty. We'll get a little increase in cloud cover later today, with then some low 60s for highs, and then we'll start to see some upper 50s and low 60s a little later in the day. Right now, looking at highs that are quite a bit cooler, too, to the southeast. Yesterday, it was near 90 in Pueblo and La Junta. Today, you're going to find some 70s. 30s, 40s, and a little rain and snow, Jason, in the mountains. We'll take a look at when we're going to see more rain here coming up.
And right now it's some sun glare to deal with. Otherwise, it's a very quiet drive. You can see from Air Tracker 7 here across Commerce City, the refinery there, 270, Vasquez right here, and you're starting to see more and more of this traffic. Very typical stuff on the east and westbound side. Here's the westbound side. That is the eastbound side heading for I-70 right now. The overall drive in there, you can see the drive times at about 20 minutes on that eastbound side, about half that on the westbound side. So very typical stuff for us. No major problems off or on the highways right now. Had some early morning problems, but they've all been cleared up. This is very typical for a Friday. We'll start to see more of the traffic volume, especially here on the south side coming up in just a little bit through the 7 and 8 o'clock hour. Santa Fe is nice and wide open.
Well, a Denver park is now closed indefinitely because of an increase in violent crime.
A man was shot and killed there Wednesday night. Denver 7's Jessica Crawford joins us live. And Jessica, friends say he was trying to stop a fight.
That's right, and they identify that man as 63-year-old Gary Ariano. They say that he loved this park, and right now this park is surrounded by gates so that people will not go inside of it. Here's a look at a vigil that was held to remember the life of Gary Ariano. This took place last night. The Denver Police Department says the man was shot while trying to break up a fight just before 8 on Wednesday night. He died after he was taken to a hospital. Denver Parks and Rec closed La Alma Park and La Alma Recreation Center yesterday, citing recent violence as the reason behind the closure. They tell us this closure is temporary and they would reopen sometime in the future when they are safe to use. We spoke with friends and family of Ariano.
But for something to happen to your friend like that, for no reason at all, it was senseless.
This is where he spent every day. He loved this park, you know, come out here and hang with his buddies. He was handicapped.
And 24-year-old Trehavani Dashad Smith was arrested in connection with this shooting. Live from Denver, I'm Jessica Crawford, Denver 7.
Thank you, Jessica. Investigators in Larimer County need your help to find the parents of a 6-year-old boy in Fort Collins who accidentally shot and killed himself. Take a look at your screen here. Rosanetta McCall and Ron Matthews have not been seen in more than a week now. Investigators say McCall left a handgun where her son could reach it, so she's being charged with child abuse and unlawful storage of a firearm. Matthews is accused of lying to officers and tampering with evidence. If you see them, contact the Larimer County Sheriff's Office or Crime Stoppers. A Colorado man is the first in the country to test positive for the current strain of bird flu.
And Denver 7's Veronica Acosta is here in studio. And Veronica, it's rare for humans to contract this, but this man had a direct exposure.
That's exactly it. And we're actually talking about a man who's an inmate at a state correctional facility over in Delta County. He's actually a part of a work release program that allows him to work at a poultry farm over on the western slope of Colorado. Officials said he was involved in the process of clearing out some of those birds presumed to have the virus. He reported his only symptom was feeling fatigued for a few days, but that's all cleared up now. He's isolating and taking Tamiflu. Our partners over at the Denver Post, they reported health officials did say it's possible the virus may have been present in the person's nose without infection. Officials insisted at this point, safest thing to do is to assume that this was an infection. Go ahead and take action to contain and treat it. Dr. Rachel Hurley, the Colorado State epidemiologist, told the Post, quote, "We might never know if this individual was truly infected, meaning the virus was replicating in his body, or if the virus was just transiently present in his nose and picked up by the nasal swab test." Despite having the first confirmed case in Colorado, the CDC says it is tracking the same strain in bird populations in 34 other states. In studio, I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Thank you, Veronica. Well, new this morning, a retired Marine has died fighting alongside Ukrainian forces against Russia. His death comes just as President Biden is calling for Congress to approve a massive new aid package to help Ukraine's defenses. ABC's Justin Finch has more.
Good morning. The wife of that American says that he was only 22 years old and leaves behind a young son, an American now among the thousands who've been killed fighting in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine has claimed the life of an American. The family of 22-year-old Willie Joseph Cancel says he died fighting with Ukrainian forces while working with a private military contracting company. Cancel's wife saying in a statement, "He went there wanting to help people. He had always felt that that was his main mission in life. I did not expect to be a widow at 23 years old or for our son to be without a father." And in Ukraine's capital, burning buildings where officials say at least 2 Russian missiles were fired into a residential area of Kyiv.
It's critical this funding gets approved and approved as quickly as possible.
Russia ramping up attacks as President Biden calls for Congress to allocate $33 billion to support Ukraine's fight over the coming months.
So we need to contribute arms, funding, ammunition, and the economic support to make their courage and sacrifice have purpose so they can continue this fight.
The White House requesting more than $20 billion in military assistance and another $8.5 billion for Ukraine's government to provide basic citizen services. Already, more than half of the 90 U.S. promised howitzer artillery guns are arriving to Ukraine. And on Capitol Hill, the House just approved a measure to speed up the process to get U.S. weapons to Ukraine by enhancing the president's power to enter Lend-Lease deals with Ukraine and Eastern European nations. Justin Finch, ABC News, Washington.
Well, today marks day 2 of the NFL draft, but it's really day 1 for the Broncos after trading their first-round pick. According to our Broncos insider Troy Rank, the Broncos will be looking for an edge rusher, cornerback, tight end, and offensive tackle. George Payton shared his day 2 strategy.
When we get to that second day, we'll be on the phone calling every team, and we'll have an idea of what we want to do that second day, especially as it starts dropping, to the mid rounds, and then we'll decide whether we want to move up, do we want to stand pat, or do we want to move back? And that kind of depends who's there, how many players we like are there.
So while the Broncos need a tight end, there is a former CSU player they could pick for the position.
Yeah, he could go fast today, so the Broncos might have to trade up to get him. Here's Denver 7's Nick Rothschild.
I'm Nick Rothschild in Las Vegas, and the first round of the NFL draft has come and gone, and no Denver Broncos, no Colorado State tight end Trey McBride. That's kind of the way this was trending in the past few days. Didn't seem like McBride was going to be a first-round pick, and he will be into the second and third round. Although he is not going to last long today, he will be gone early in the second round. Why is that? Because he's the best tight end on the board, best tight end in the draft. He's a great receiver. He's great in the blocking game. But why listen to me praise him when you can listen to him describe himself?
They're getting a competitor, a playmaker, and a guy that's going to, give it their all, a guy that you won't have to worry about off the field, a guy that leads by example, does everything the right way, and most importantly is a winner, a guy that wants to win, competes, and loves the game of football. It doesn't matter where I'm at. I just need an opportunity somewhere, and whoever, takes a chance on me is going to, make a good pick. So.
Now, I mentioned that McBride won't last long in the second round, but there is a small chance that the Broncos could pick him up, and if they do, he will be following in the footsteps of one Joel Dreesen. That's right, Joel played at Fort Morgan High School, Colorado State, and in the pros with Denver. And he is Trey McBride's mentor, so a lot of poetry in motion here on day 2 of the draft. Reporting from Las Vegas, Nick Rothschild, Denver 7 Sports.
Yeah, a lot of possibilities here. Our sports department put together a mock draft of the predictions for the Broncos, at least. You can see that on the denverchannel.com.
And you can see coverage of the NFL draft tonight on Denver 7, starting at 5 o'clock. If you'd rather catch up on local news, Denver 7 News at 5 and 6 will stream on the Denver 7 Plus app and online at thedenverchannel.com.
More sports. Now the Avs are wrapping up the regular season tonight in Minnesota. They are already the top seed in the Western Conference going into the playoffs. They will have home ice advantage against the Dallas Stars in the first round. And even though the Avs lost last night to the Predators, it came in a shootout, so they did pick up 1 point, and that gave them a new franchise record with 119 points on the season.
More bad news for aspiring homeowners, the price point that's now extinct in Denver.
Also, as gas prices stay high, you might be thinking about going electric with your next vehicle. Why Colorado charges EV drivers special fees.